Welcome to Business Class, a podcast for people wanting to upgrade their thinking, upgrade their learning, and upgrade their life. I'm your host, Eugenia Panterhos, founder of Business Class Collective, best-selling author and life coach. If you're an entrepreneur, a startup, or someone who dreams of reaching their full potential, then you're in the right place. You'll feel empowered and inspired to design the life you've always wanted. Let's do this. Andrea, welcome to Business Class Collective. I'm so thrilled to have you with me today. I know that we met at Barre, so I've talked about this on my podcast because when I enrolled in Barre, I did that to reconnect with my feminine divine. I had found that I was doing a lot and not being enough. So I actually found a beautiful place at Unley that helped me express myself through movement and camaraderie, I think, with the other women and the instructors. So it was a healing journey for me on many levels. I just wanted to let you know that and to thank you for allowing me to be part of that school. So I loved it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Jeannie. It's been beautiful having you come to classes. It really has.
Yeah.
And your group of women that you have together, like you're such a pleasure to teach, and you guys are so lovely together. It's just beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and how you've ended up exactly where you are. Because it really is inspiring, is all I can say. So,
all right. Well, I've got a bit of a diverse story, haven't I? A bit of it all over the world and roundabout. But I as a profession now, I'm a health practitioner, so I'm an osteopath, naturopath, and nutritionist. But for many years, I was a professional dancer, and I started dancing when I was 3, and I still try and dance now except my hips are a little bit old. But I guess I went straight to university from school, and when I was at university, I started auditioning for dance jobs, and so that became my get through university job, was doing all sorts of different dance bits and pieces and corporate events and cheerleading at the basketball and all sorts of things. And then after I graduated from osteopathy at university, I headed off overseas, and I had a dance contract at the Moulin Rouge, which was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And then spent a couple of years there, went to Spain for a big show called Sonoma, went to America, danced on cruise ships, and then came back to Sydney for a couple of years where I was working 3 days a week as an osteopath, but also dancing the rest of the time. And all the way through, I'd been able to keep my osteopathy skills up, and I'd worked with a GP in Spain in his little practice, and I'd seen clients on the cruise ship, but it was not the passengers, it was all the staff. And so I'd have to see them at 10 o'clock at night in the beauty salon when the treatment tables are available after the passengers have gone to bed or out drinking probably on a cruise ship. But so I've had a really interesting time, and I retired from dance in my early 30s, about 32, 33, moved to Adelaide and started my clinic there. So I opened a bricks and mortar allied health clinic, and I had that for 14 years. I've just sold it recently. It's very exciting. And that's been, a huge journey. And over that time too, I also opened 2 barre studios, which I've just sold the last one of those on June 30th as well. So in a very big full circle. But in amongst all of that, I've also launched some online businesses, and I started off with an online barre teacher training program to teach other people how to become barre instructors, and an app for barre classes. And now I've gone into more of a business coaching model with a mindset movement nutrition program, and I'm coaching women over 35 who want to feel fabulous and get on top of their hormones and lose weight and feel good in their clothes again and get their energy back and get rid of brain fog and all those things that happen in your 40s and 50s. Yeah. And that's, going really well. And then the next thing I'm about to do is launch a business coaching program to teach other health, wellness and fitness professionals to do what I've done in the last year or so with my online coaching program.
Oh, how wonderful. My goodness. What an experience. What a journey. Like, it's a lifetime journey, actually. Like, you've just kept building and building and building from a child at the age of 3 with dance Oh, it's so impressive. So you've
Oh, thank
developed
you.
this fitness app. So that would have been a huge investment in itself on how to launch that and get that up and running. And the coaching program, that's fantastic. So you're going to teach other people how to do what you're doing.
Yes, and I launch in a month, so it's a little bit busy time at the moment.
Fingers crossed it all goes well.
Thank
So
you.
tell us a little bit more about Paris and Spain and the ship, because that's a big thing to put yourself in those situations and yeah, in wonderful cities and experiences. Are there things that stand out in your experiences or?
Oh yeah, definitely the friends I made for sure. And in Paris, a lot of the girls at the Moulin Rouge are Australian, so there's still a really good network of old Moulin Rouge girls in Australia, and we're all really good friends. And in fact, I just got back from a week on the Gold Coast and seeing my best friend there, who I met at the Moulin Rouge. She's an amazing dancer and amazing person. But that would probably be the standout. And I mean, Paris was really fun, but it was very challenging as well for all of us who go over there are quite young. I was one of the older ones at 24 because I went after university, but there's challenges that come with living in Paris that you don't experience when you're just visiting Paris. But I mean, I lived in Paris, like not many people can say that, and it's such a wonderful thing.
Wonderful.
But Spain is my hands down favorite place in the whole wide world. I just loved my time there.
Why is that? Tell me.
I loved the food and the culture, and it was a more relaxed pace of life. And I was living in Mallorca, so it was a pretty beautiful place to live.
Yes, yes. Well, it's one of my places. It's on my list to go there next. So I'd love to go to Spain. So I have to talk to you about some tips and tricks. Now, I had the privilege of meeting your fur baby. So your partner in crime.
Yes, she's asleep in the sun right now.
She's adorable. She's absolutely adorable. So for anyone listening right now, what's her name?
Sunny.
What is it?
Sunny, like the sunshine.
Sunshine.
Sunny.
She's full of sunshine, yes. And she loves to take the student socks and walk off with them. And she just, really cute.
She does have a fetish for little dirty, used, sweaty bar socks.
It's so funny. So tell me, you've always had this entrepreneurial streak. So, you started your first business as a uni student, but you knew you were destined for bigger things and not working for someone else, but, being your own entity. How did you realize that? And, was there a defining moment, that light bulb moment that you thought, oh, I'm going to do it my way?
I don't think there was a defining moment. I just always did stuff. I was just the organizer and the creator. And that first business was when we were cheerleading at the basketball. And I got that job. It was so random so I first of all did it when I first moved to Melbourne. I had to do a whole audition process. And then things changed and I didn't do it for a year. And then one of my clinicians at university, her friend had just taken a job at one of the basketball teams and she had to organize the cheerleaders and didn't know how to do it, didn't know anything about dancing. And then so she said to her friend, and the friend said, I know someone who used to do that. And that's how it started. And so then I just gathered other dance friends and we formed a cheerleading team. And then people wanted to have us for corporate events and functions and things. So I kind of created a little dance agency. And so it just came from a need and being in the right place at the right time, I guess. But I was always, really good organizer and good on computers. And, I look back at some of the documents that we've made that we would, like a kind of a media file or a media type kit to give to people who are interested in us. And I just did it all on sticking photos on and taking photocopies of color copies and putting it in a little folder and doing it all at office work. So, you just I had that streak in me, I guess, right from the start. And then I think with the clinic, I always just knew I was going to open a clinic. I just knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just when I had to wait until I retired from dancing until I was going to do it.
It's so good that you did things concurrently. So you always had something else to go to, which is really important, isn't it? Rather than working on one part of your career and then that stops and then you ask yourself what next. You kind of had what next happening already, as you do now with this new launch in 1 month. I mean,
true. But I can thank my parents for that, because if it was my choice back then when I was 16, all I wanted to do was dance.
Yeah.
And they were like, you need to go to university first.
Yeah, good advice, good advice. So there's two types of people, I think, in the world, and some have the scarcity and lack mindset, and others have the abundance mindset. And I think you sit in the abundance mindset. You know that everything's possible for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely do. And I mean, even with what I'm doing now with my business coaching course I'm about to launch, is I'm teaching people to do what I'm doing. And so some people have said to me, like, aren't you worried that you're going to be competing for the same clients? And I'm like, not at all. Like, I'm not at all worried about that, because there is enough people in the world that we can all find the right people for us.
Exactly. And you'll bring your own unique magic and personality to the relationship that you have with your clients. That can't be emulated, you know.
Exactly.
The how-to can, but not the way it's done. Yeah. So staying motivated provides us a reason to do what we do, to get up in the morning and to do it in a particular way. So you're a highly motivated person. So what tips and tricks do you have, Andrea?
It's so interesting because motivation is a word I don't necessarily believe in. And I talk about this with my clients all the time, because the ladies in my nutrition and movement program always say to me, you know, I chat to them before they sign up and want to hear more about their, you know, concerns and challenges. And they all say, oh, I just need to be more motivated. And I say to them, you actually don't need to be more motivated. You just need to make a decision, and then you need to take action. So I don't think motivation's a thing. I think you have to be ready to make a decision. You make the decision, and then you just follow through and keep your word to yourself.
Yes. Okay. So it's like a promise to yourself. To show
a promise to yourself. And I can tell you, with my business coaching course, I have to be super motivated, because I have put it out there to the universe that I'm launching on October 1. That's enough of motivation. That's enough of a motivator.
That'll get you out of bed, won't it?
Exactly. Especially seeing people have started paying for it already, then that's really going to motivate me.
Wow, fantastic. That's so exciting. So I'm certain you've had some highs and you've had your challenges, and I suppose what's one of the greatest challenges? Because we hear about highs, but sometimes people are a little bit, you know, shy to talk about the biggest challenges. So there's something you'd like to share?
Well, I've talked about this before on another podcast, and share it with some of my clients too. And it's one of the most challenging but pivotal times that I've ever had in my business. And it taught me that I have massive strength and resilience. So I know it's good that I went through it, but gosh, it was awful at the time. And I was, it was 2017. It's always that date in my head. And I had the clinic going. I had about 35 staff between the clinic and the 2 bar studios, probably more knowing me actually, but I think there was 35 like staff who were working quite a lot in the business, like either part or full time, and then a few other instructors as casuals. And I just remember I had about 5 or 6 new graduates started as osteopaths that year, and they weren't as busy or kind of as ready as other graduates from other years had been. And so they weren't able to retain their patient numbers as much. And so there was this whole kind of cauldron of the stuff that didn't work because they weren't as busy. And then when they're not as busy, I'm paying them a base wage. And then I have to work harder with my patients to earn enough money to cover their base wages. And it all kind of exploded. And I remember, I mean, I know that they would have felt really not cared for or listened to, because they would often approach me between patients when I was kind of running 10 minutes late or something, and they'd be like, oh, Andrea, can we just talk to you for a minute? And I was like, not really, like, can you send me an email? I'm just running 10 minutes late for the next patient. So the whole thing, it's not their fault, not my fault, but the whole thing just didn't work. And I had 9 staff resignations in 12 days.
Oh my God.
And I was a mess. It was terrible. So I had to sell my car because I didn't know how to stay on top of things financially without that. The only way I knew how to pay for this huge building that I was renting, and I had done a massive multi-6-figure renovation fit out on, was to just work harder, see more patients, because that's what I did. I was like, $1 per hour, see more patients. And I was seeing 16 to 18 patients a day, which a normal load is probably about 10, and teaching classes at both ends of the day as well. Yeah, so I sold my car. I managed to hold on to my house. But it was a really, really tough time. And it was in that time I started working with a mindset coach because I was feeling so negative about my business. And I kept on saying, I just want to leave, but I can't leave because I own it. Like and have a huge debt, like I can't even shut the door because I've got this huge debt that I need to pay off. And I need to keep seeing patients to make money. Like it was so stressful. And on a personal note, I'd also been through IVF that hadn't been successful. So that was another stress of that year as well. Like there was just a lot of stuff going on. And anyway, with this mindset coach, I just remember going to him and saying, I just feel so negative about my business and I'm always so positive and I just don't feel that anymore. And it was about week 7 of working with him. I kind of said, I was feeling very different. And I said, I'm going to go into the online space. Like and I said to him, I need to be bigger than my hourly rate. So if this ever happens again, it doesn't need to be a time for money model. Like I need to be bigger than the hourly rate.
Yeah.
And that's when the online stuff all started and I haven't looked backwards.
Fantastic. So with the staff resignations, is it, like 9 in 12 days? So obviously, there was a domino effect of...
Oh, yeah. They were all talking about me behind my back and figuring it out. Like I'd walk into a room and everyone stopped talking.
Yeah, okay. So
I was absolutely hating it. It felt like the school ground where everyone was whispering about you.
Yeah. Oh, that's just awful. So you've got your key lessons from there and you pivoted. So you thought, okay, I'm not doing the exchange of time for money. I'm going to create something else that can work basically without a whole group of people.
Yeah. And I still had the clinic, but this was like an extra on top of, so that I wasn't solely reliant on that.
Oh, yes. We know that from question 1.
Yeah, true.
If anyone's keeping up right now, we've got a multi-passionate Andrea here who is always thinking ahead and planning for her future. I think that's a wonderful, because it's an inspiration. It means that you're always like building and creating and imagining, and that's just wonderful. You're not stagnant, you're not in one spot, but you're enjoying life and, you're facing your challenges and getting on with that. So your memorable highs, you must have had some amazing memorable highs, possibly with clients or, talk to us about that.
Yeah, definitely. I guess where I left my clinic and I sold on June 30, it was the last 3 years was the happiest years I ever had. And so that's definitely a career highlight. And I changed the business model. I had amazing people in there. And it worked, like from the other model that wasn't working when I was on an employment model. And this new model that we did, kind of a shared expenses kind of model, was just the best. And I was the happiest I'd ever been. So that would be a highlight. And then the dear friends that I've made from that time who are still, they're the ones who bought the clinic off me. So I go back and I'm allowed to go back and still see some patients there, which is nice. So that was definitely a highlight. And then when my clients achieve success with their health or their business is really motivating, and I get a real buzz from that as well, like when I hear lovely stories from them. And so, for example, one of my clients, Annie, just emailed me last week and she shared it in our group coaching call with the rest of the ladies in the program, and she'd signed up for my program just the day after she'd had an appointment with the gynecologist who said she had fibroids and wanted to have surgery, like take her for surgery. And she said, look, I'm just about to start this nutrition program. Can we just wait 3 months until I finish that and have a review? And he's like, sure. So she went back to him last week and he's like, what have you been doing? They've completely shrunk. And he was just saying, you don't need me, you don't need surgery, and whatever you've been doing, just keep doing it. So like she was so happy. I was so happy. Like that's what the highs are. And that's why you do what you do.
Oh my goodness, what a wonderful success story. I mean, to allow that woman to take her health into her own hands and not have surgery because of her lifestyle changes, that's incredible. And I think it's that intuitive healing. We've got it. We just need some help sometimes, harnessing it and looking after our health. That's in 12 weeks, by the way. This
I know.
happened in 12 weeks.
Yeah, she's amazing. She did everything I asked. Like she was like the A+ student. She was perfect.
Yeah, how wonderful. And that was a combination of nutrition, mindset and movement, was it? As well as anything else supporting her? No?
Some supplements, but that was specific to her needs, yeah. And making some really, working out really what caused inflammation in her body, and then she avoided those foods. So for her, gluten and her are not friends, and so she's worked out that she's just going to stay off gluten, and she's been able to navigate that beautifully and still go out and be social and do all the things that she loves doing.
Well, that's an easy breakup, isn't it?
Yeah, no, not when, especially when you feel so good.
Yeah. So tell me, who's your biggest inspiration? So in your life,
in the last 12 months, sorry?
In your life and in your business.
My life and in my business. In my business, my biggest inspiration would be my coach, Nicole. She's based in America. And so she's just taught me, amazing things to be able to navigate into this online space and be so successful as I've been. So I just look up to her so much, and she's leaps and bounds ahead, miles ahead of where I am, but I can see where the possibility is of where I can go. And then in my life, my mum would be one of my biggest inspirations. She's amazing. She's had a lot of health battles over the year, but she's had cancer and, oh my gosh, so many complications, but she's still doing it all. She's still, working on the farm, makes amazing food, super healthy, always on the end of the phone for me to talk to multiple times a day.
Oh, how wonderful. Yeah, mums are wonderful.
They are.
People in your life. Yeah. Oh, how wonderful. So your coach, Nicole, so how did you meet her, or how did she come into your life? And I suppose, what were the key mindset shifts that she helped you with?
Yeah, this is interesting. I am, out of all of her clients, I'm probably the one that doesn't need any mindset shifts. And she talks a lot about imposter syndrome, and I go, I don't have imposter syndrome. I just know I can do this. So I don't know that there's been any mindset shifts, except she's shown me what's possible, because I never would have thought what I've achieved in the last 12 months would have been possible. Never in a million years. But I came across her in a Kajabi users at Facebook group in a random Facebook post, and somebody said, I'm a Pilates instructor and I'm looking to do an online something. And someone said, you need to go to this girl. And I was like, who's that girl? And I clicked, and then I found her website, and her course was not cheap. And I remember I just had a few emails backwards and forwards with her, given the price. I had a meeting with my accountant the next day. And he said I had, $12,000 tax return or whatever. And I said, in my head, I was like, perfect, I can pay for Nicole's course. And he was giving me this lovely spiel about it'd be so great to invest it, and you can do something else with the business, and you could put it into some shares. And I'm like, in my head, like, no, it's going on this course tomorrow. But I didn't tell him because I thought he wouldn't approve or whatever. I don't know why, because it's such an amazing investment in myself. Anyway, yeah, so that's how I came across her, in some random Facebook post when you're digging into the depths of social media.
Yeah, it's amazing how those messages come through. It's almost like, the universe having your back, like you're exposed to something that resonates, and you think, okay, so, I've had experiences like this where I've, connected with someone online, and we have so much in common, and yet I'm sure if you're walking down the street and seeing one another, we probably wouldn't even know, what we share, or how our lives might be very similar, and how we can inspire one another. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
remarkable.
She's been a big blessing in my life, that's for sure.
That's fantastic. So is there a particular book that helped your thinking and mindset?
Yes. So my favorite book, and I get all of my clients to read it, and this is one Nicole recommended to me as well, is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And it's just about tiny little incremental changes that over time compound to make a positive effect. But likewise, in reverse, if you don't do the tiny little positive things over time, it can compound into a negative effect.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the whole premises of the book, but it's just really good. And so my clients love it for the mindset it gives them around their diet and nutrition and exercise.
Yeah. So it's the daily choices that provide the powerful results, or perhaps not having the right choices that provide detrimental results.
Yeah. And that, if you go to the gym, for example, on day 1, you don't notice. On day 2, you don't notice anything. Day 3, you don't notice anything. But it compounds over time. And after 3 or 4 weeks, you start thinking, oh, my biceps are a little bit more toned, or I feel a bit, I can walk up the stairs without puffing. So it just compounds, those tiny little decisions that you make.
Yeah. Fantastic. So comparing your business from when you started to now, what's been the major win? And I think you might have alluded to this already with your online model. So when did you go online?
2017 for the first time, but in a significant way, just 12 months ago.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and that's definitely been the biggest impact or change.
Yeah. So you've got your app and you're on YouTube, is that right?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah. But your app.
As well. Mm-hmm. And my app. But yeah, it's my YouTube channel at 22,000 people. That's just under my name.
Wow.
And that's the Barre classes. And then my app, the Barre class app, or the Barre Clinic TV, it's called.
Yep.
But probably where my real focus is on my nutrition program for my over 35 ladies and my business coaching program for health professionals, health and fitness and wellness professionals.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So how do you celebrate your wins, Andrea?
Sorry, my little puppy's having sleeping barks.
Oh, that's so gorgeous.
I don't know if you can hear her or not.
Yeah, I can. That's fine.
I share my wins with my family and closest friends. Like they'll always tell me if I've had a really successful revenue day or something. I like just to share that with my close people, and I'll send a little text message saying, "Guess what, Mum? I just had a $10,000 day," or something like that. So I love doing that, and I've got a pretty big goal I've set for myself for the next 12 months. And if I achieve it, I'm going to do a working holiday somewhere special and go out for a really fancy dinner somewhere.
Lovely. Sounds wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. So looking back, is there anything that you could have done sooner to reach your success, or have all these lessons, brought you to the place that you are now? Would you have done anything different?
Well, I'd like to have not experienced some of the experiences I had, but I think they're the things that make you who you are now and give you the lessons, the learnings that you wouldn't have got otherwise. So I should say, yes, I'm very glad it all happened, but there's certainly some parts that weren't my favorite parts. And I've definitely that saying that you get taught by business coaches over the years, they always say, hire slow and fire fast. That would be a good lesson that I could have stuck with earlier on.
Yes.
Got better at it as I went, but in the early days, I was probably the reverse. I was hire fast and fire slow.
And that affects team building, morale. It affects everything, the triple bottom line, like everything. 100%. You've got to have the right people with you on your journey to build the business that you want to have. And it makes a difference. If you've got buy-in with your staff and they're with you on that journey, that's great. But, if it's not, it's a challenge and it's a huge pain point.
Yeah.
So Nelson Mandela said, I never lose. I either win or learn. And I reckon you've done a lot of learning.
Yeah, that's a lot of learning along the way for sure. But lots of wins too.
And a lot of wins, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So what is your advice to other entrepreneurs?
I think if you're not in the online space yet, you should get there very fast because it's a massive growth industry, especially the online coaching space. It's just, I can't remember the statistics, but something by the year, there's been some statistics done by Forbes or something by the year 2025, it's going to be like how many $1 billion more industry than what it is now. So I think that's the place to go.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then probably two other things. Also be willing to invest in yourself
and
be willing to work with really amazing coaches and mentors, because I think that helps you not learn some of them or helps you not make some of the mistakes because you can learn from their lessons.
Yes. And someone's got your back also. You're learning from them. They're giving you insights into the way that you're doing things. Yeah, and saving some time and learning opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody to, throw around ideas with and ask for feedback and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and listen to divergent thinking, like have that sort of, how else could it be done or what else is possible? Yeah. So what's the best piece of advice you've received?
So there's two pieces of advice in business that I've learned, and they're both from business coaches I had along the way. One, and it sounds terrible, but it's just stuck with me. And he said, the fish stinks from the head down. And so I always thought about that. If there was any problem in my business, even if it was a staff, behaving not as I would like, I was like, well, that's my problem. I have either haven't trained them or I've hired the wrong person. It's not their problem. So that stuck with me along the way. And so I think think it gave me really good responsibility, even though perhaps I didn't always follow it as well as I could. And then another piece of advice I was given is a partnership's a ship and ships sink. And that was another business mentor. And so I've never gone into partnership with anyone, and because I've always got that in my head, and I've seen so many partnerships that have sunk along the way. So that was one thing I decided never to do.
Yeah, they're two great pieces of advice. The first one, my parents told me that when I was a young child. So yeah, that resonates with me. It's something that I've learned along the way. But I haven't heard the other one, and I love that. A partnership is a ship and a ship sinks. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So your greatest challenge was staff management, and I think you've sort of talked about, what you could have done differently, taking responsibility for some of it, and then, that's fine. So what's your typical day like? How do you start your day, Andrea?
I always start early. I like waking up early, so I'm usually up by about 5 or 5:30. A couple of days a week I have a client coaching call at that time, or I lead my ladies on some exercise via Zoom twice a week. So I might be doing some weights or exercise with them. Mm-hmm. But I like waking up at that time, and then I find my most creative time for writing, social posts or blog posts or content for, email sequences or whatever is in those early hours too. So I like to do that before 10. But somewhere along the way, I'll have maybe an infrared sauna or take Sunny for a walk. But I start work at 10 and I sit at my desk. And I say work. I've started earlier with my, creative stuff, but I see clients a couple of days a week from 10 till 5. And then on the other days, I have a couple of admin days like today, and try and finish by 5 or 6, and then take little Sunny for a walk again, make a beautiful, healthy dinner, see some friends. That's probably about it. But I've worked out to be really effective in my time management. I've put my tasks into green, red, or orange tasks. And I've time zoned my days into green, red, and orange time zones. So green's where I'm most creative and productive. Red's when I'm not at all productive, and I'm better off just doing the bank reconciliation or something like that in that time. That doesn't need any thought or creativity. And then the orange times are those that you need your brain, but you don't need to be super creative. And so in my Google Calendar, every day, everything's time blocked into colors. And then I allocate my tasks to the colors, and then it's made me way more productive, and I have more hours in the day because I'm not wasting time trying to do tasks that my brain isn't ready for at that particular time of the day.
That's so important. I haven't used colours, but I use that own philosophy for myself. So I know when I'm most productive, I know when I'm most creative, and I know when I do the tasks that just kind of like on rote, you just know how to do it and you don't have to think or act too much. So but I haven't color coded, but it's the intuitive thing, and it's a cycle I think that we go through that matches our circadian rhythm, our daily body rhythm. But as females, there's days in our cycle that we don't want to be doing certain things, or it's not the right time to be doing certain things. So, you might be more creative at other times in your cycle, and you might want a bit more of a lull time at other times. So we were just talking about the different times of the month in a woman's cycle and how it affects creativity, or needing to just have a lie down, or taking things easy and not overexerting. So can you talk a little bit about that actually? Is that something?
Well, yes, I can tell you I'm not very good at listening to my body in that way, because I just push myself hard all the time. But I know we're usually firing and feeling our best in the first half of the cycle. Estrogen's higher, and that's our follicular phase. And then after ovulation, progesterone takes over and estrogen drops, and that's our luteal phase. So estrogen is that more, happy and pushes us and motivated. And so that first half up until ovulation is when we usually can achieve the most. And that second half, especially when I was younger, I used to get a whole lot of bad PMS. It's settled a little bit now, but sometimes I would have to leave work for a couple of days in that PMS kind of period because I just felt so terrible, and I didn't want anyone around me. It's like don't talk to me.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, it's about listening to your body, and I did get better at it, but I used to sort of push through with patients, and then sometimes I was like, I'm just going to go home, wrap myself up in a doona and watch television.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Doing what your body actually wanted to do.
yeah,
But then when we push through, Andrea, you know, it's something, it's a learned thing, isn't it, that we should, pay more attention to our body and what it's telling us and respond accordingly where we can within reason. Yeah.
Sure.
So I'd like to ask you 22 questions with just like one-word answers where possible, so that, you know, people can learn a little bit about you, Andrea, the person. What makes you smile, Andrea?
Sunny.
Your little dog.
My little dog, yeah.
How did you start your day today?
With a weights session.
Mm-hmm. What's your favourite cuisine?
Anything healthy.
Do you prefer to text or call or voice call?
I do voice texts, a lot.
And what's your happy place?
With friends.
Do you have a favourite song?
Not really, but anything happy.
What's your favourite city and why?
Adelaide, because it's like a big country town, but everything a city has to offer.
What's your secret pleasure?
Chocolate.
What's your biggest strength?
My mindset.
If you were a hashtag, what would you be?
Hashtag smiley.
I'd agree, actually. Do you have an exercise routine, and what is it?
Yes, and it's weights a couple of times a week, barre a couple of times, yoga a couple of times, and walking in nature.
Gold, silver, rose gold, or platinum?
Rose gold and platinum and diamonds.
Oh yeah, best friends. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you could have a catch up with anyone, who would it be?
Just my friends who I love.
What's your favourite meal? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, or all of the above?
Breakfast.
What inspires you?
Seeing others succeed.
And what's your favourite time of the day?
The morning.
What was the best holiday you've ever had?
My 4-year working holiday in Europe.
And do you like sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
It's a guilty pleasure. Goes with the chocolate
again.
Andrea, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today and listening to your stories and sharing your wisdoms. And I really want to thank you for joining me at Business Class Collective today.
Well, thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and all the best for this 1-month launch that's happening. So I wish you all the best. I look forward to learning more about it in due course. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeannie.
You've been listening to Business Class presented by Eugenia Panterhoff, founder of Business Class Collective. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcast, subscribe, rate and review this podcast. Share the love and let your family and friends know too. You can follow Business Class Collective on Instagram and Facebook. Join me next time.